Stop.
Good evening, and welcome to Tech Tuesday with Shimira Williams. I am Elwin Green of Homewood Nation, and we have with us Ms. Williams. Good evening. Hello there.
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, doing well. Tonight we are on episode 3 of a series titled Taking Your Business Online. And tonight's discussion is titled The E-commerce Decision, which is the decision about whether or not to do e-commerce online, and actually all of the other decisions that go into making that decision, how to prepare to do e-commerce. So we want to start off just by giving ourselves a working definition of what it is that we're even talking about when we say e-commerce. So how would you describe that for us, Ms. Williams?
E-commerce is the exchange of items or services over the internet. So it can be an extension of your brick and mortar. So if you have a store, you might want to sell some of your products online, or it can be completely online. Maybe you don't have a store and you make crafts in your home and you want to sell them online.
Okay, so it's using the internet to conduct different aspects of the actual business itself. And when we think about the kind of the process of business, the process of the transactions involved, there's the marketing that kind of brings a person's attention to what it is that you have to offer. Then there's the actual sales process itself. And then there's the delivery of the product or the service. And after that, a really smart business will have some sort of process or procedure or structures in place for customer service, for support, for getting feedback from customers. So we're going to touch a little bit on all of those. We're going to see how much we can squeeze into the time that we have here. But just on the very front end, when we talk about marketing, how might a business employ the internet to handle that aspect of what they do, the marketing piece?
They can use the internet to market their services by using their own website, running promotional codes on their website to get people to purchase things from them online. In store, letting people know that they can also purchase things online. Pinterest is great if you sell products, to actually, post them on a board and have people redirect back to your own site or store so that they can purchase those items. Pinterest even has a really cool feature that if the price drops on your item, it'll notify the people who are following that pin or who have liked that pin. So that's, of all the social networks, I would go with Pinterest the most on selling your product or marketing a product that is sold directly online. But, that goes back to the previous episodes of making sure that your business is being promoted online and there is a hub for you to be able to work from. Twitter now offers sales too. You can buy directly on Twitter now too. So I guess that's a great way to market your actual item too.
Okay, so using the social media is a primary way that we can offer our services or products to the world, and that's typically a fairly simple thing in terms of setting up the account and just using that social media itself.
Customer testimonies on your website are always great because people want to hear from other people. Testimonial just quotes, testimonial videos, either or works that are on your site so that people can talk about how they've received your product, and that's always the best marketing because word of mouth sells everything. When your friend tells you, oh no, I bought that there, you kind of like, okay, maybe I'll buy it there too because somebody I know has already made that purchase.
Okay, cool. In terms of the actual sales transaction, which is someone deciding to buy whatever it is you're offering, giving you money in some form, and then you actually delivering the product or the service. There are several aspects that we want to look at as we're preparing a website to do the actual transaction itself. So can we talk about some of those? What should we look for, or what should we be sure to include when we're having our website put together to do e-commerce?
Well, the first thing you need to consider is your web host company or provider. Some providers actually service an e-commerce package, and they design it because it's more secure, higher bandwidth. So, if you have a really great explosion of a product that you want to sell, and you have thousands of people trying to buy it, your site's not going to crash, and that's very important to you. And your security is important because people will be putting in their confidential information for their credit cards, and you want people to know that you have a secure environment. So you need to check for SSL certifications and your HTTPS sites, and both of those are security levels to make sure that your client and the front end that are talking to each other are secure, and they are communicating the information and transmitting the data in a secure manner.
Okay, so you want to have a website or web host that's actually capable of handling e-commerce. You want to be sure that it has SSL security.
Yes.
SSL stands for?
Secure Sockets Layer.
Okay, which is just a level of security or encryption that's kind of the standard for e-commerce.
Yeah. Without getting too technical, yes, and there's a link to a site that can actually tell you all the details if you really want to dig deep inside of the chat notes on the site.
Okay, very good, very good. And if any of you have ever ordered something from a website online, you may have noticed that that you see the beginning of the website address would change from HTTP to HTTPS.
Yes.
So this is what you're referring to there. Your web host should be able to provide that capacity or capability for you, because the HTTPS signifies, again, the higher level of security, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So how about the user interface? I mean, when someone actually experiences your website and they want to buy something, what should we look for there, or what should we want to have as part of our site there?
Well, now that you have enough bandwidth and you have a secure environment, you want to make sure that your site that you design or store you design is user-friendly. You want people to be able to easily navigate and purchase whatever items they would like to. You want to make putting things in the cart or whatever checkout method is simple. It's not cumbersome. The graphics that you're going to use of your products are high quality, so that people can actually see, as well as writing a complete description of what you are selling. And make sure that you have the return policy in detail, as well as any other policies that you may have for your product or service.
So no fuzzy pictures, no one-word descriptions. Make it clear enough and compelling enough to so that the people can tell what they're buying, and so that they actually do want to buy it.
Correct, because if it's hard to navigate for someone, they're going to leave the site. Make sure it's mobile ready or responsive, so that no matter if somebody is on a desktop with a full web browser, or they're on their tablet, or they're on their phone, they can make that transaction for you.
Right, right, because someone may not be at their desk for hours or days, but they pretty much always have their phone with them, right?
Yeah.
If somebody's looking at something on their phone and they say, "Ooh, that's cool. I like that. I might want to buy it." You want to make it easy for them to not only make that decision, but to act on it.
Correct.
Okay. Let's see here. Is there anything that we should be particularly mindful of in terms of if someone is viewing the ad or description of the product and they're ready to make the purchase? In terms of the actual checkout process itself, are there any particular things that we should keep in mind there?
Well, as the person hosting the store, when you are building your store, you need to consider who is going to be your credit card service provider. You can go with PayPal or Square or Sam's Club. Your own bank typically has, a transaction service provider. Most fees are in the same range between 2.5% of the transaction and 3%. Sometimes there's an additional fee depending on the method that you're using. Whether it's credit card, debit card, check, transfer of electronic funds, but those would depend within the system. So when you are making that decision, consider all things that you need to consider. I personally prefer PayPal because they offer you a credit card if you are a business owner that you can actually access your funds from. While I have Google Wallet, I have a card for them too. They also have a card. Square doesn't have a card yet, so you have to wait a couple days for your funds to be transferred into your bank account in order for you to be able to access your funds. And I can't speak to how the funds transaction goes for Sam's Club and your personal bank because I've actually never used either of those service providers.
But Sam's Club is an option?
Sam's Club is an option.
And perhaps a great place to start even is just check your bank where you're already doing business with them and you already have accounts with them. So that might be a good place to start.
And they can actually help you with, they know your volume, or they could probably speak to helping you realize the volume of sales that you're going to have and the different packages that they offer, because at certain volumes of sales, the price will come down for the fees and things like that. So, your bank is probably the best place to start because they will give you a baseline of what you should anticipate from any other provider. I know Square now has the register that you can use in your store as well as online. Just about all of them have the mobile option. So if you are actually out vending, you can actually still get your payments made.
Okay. Thinking about the process of actually checking out and adding up the items that you're buying and the total cost and everything. Very frequently, at the end of it all, comes the matter of the sales tax, and that can get a little tricky for some of us because why can that get tricky for us? Tell us about that.
So there used to be a whole debate, but the Supreme Court in 1992, I guess, set precedent on that. So it's based on the person providing the service or product. If you own a brick and mortar store, so your online sales are an extension of your store, you have to pay taxes in the state which you own that physical store. So if you have a store in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and you also do e-commerce, you need to pay Pennsylvania's sales tax on that product if there is sales tax on that product. If you if you are selling a product but you do not have a physical store, meaning everything is virtual and online, then there are a couple of caveats that go to that. It's based on each individual state's taxing guidelines, and each individual state has their own taxing guidelines. So one, I would tell you to check with your state. taxing department and what items are taxed. I know here in Pennsylvania, clothing's not taxed, so that's a little different. And there are several states that don't have any sales tax, so they're automatically exempt. And I have put a link to the SBA's definition of when to pay sales tax online for online purchases and sales in the chat description also.
All right, so take a look at those notes for you folks who want to explore further the details on how the taxes for your particular business or particular transactions would be handled in your particular state. We happen to be broadcasting from Pennsylvania, but we know that people may wind up viewing from, I don't know, Nevada, Florida, wherever, right?
Right. We know that Delaware doesn't have state tax, so they are going to be one of those exempt states.
So a person has, well, we've prepared our website to help walk a person through all of the marketing and selecting a product and actually ordering it and paying for it. And now comes the what is from the customer end, perhaps the most important part, the delivery of the actual product or service. And the internet is especially powerful in these aspects, in that depending on what it is that you have to offer, the internet itself can be the vehicle for delivery. Most obvious example would be Amazon, where when you buy a book from Amazon, you can have that book delivered in the electronic form, even to your phone. I was going to say to your computer, but it can even come to your phone, and the entire transaction is purely electronic, purely virtual. But that's not the only way that it can go. Ms. Williams, you can give us another example or two of how the internet can help facilitate the delivery of a good or a service.
Back to Amazon, now they have drones that'll deliver stuff to you, what, next day, 2 days with Prime? So if you have Amazon Prime, you can basically get stuff in 48 hours because they'll have a drone now deliver things to you. But there's always just standard shipping. I guess that'll be a thing of the past pretty soon, standard shipping. And you have to pay shipping. Maybe you're paying the shipping cost as the person providing the service or product, and you've included that in your pricing already. Or maybe you've passed that along to the customer, and so they will have to, add that cost on at the end of their checkout. USPS, which is the United States Postal Service, is, making major moves where they come and pick up your mail. So if you're a home-based crafts person and you sell stuff, your mailman can be picking up all your products and sending them out as long as you put your mailing labels on. There's always UPS, which is Brown, and FedEx. So those are your delivery options as far as a hard product that you need to send in the mail. Let's not forget about 3D printing now, because you could actually purchase something and send it to a 3D printer and pick it up.
Wow. Okay.
You can do in-store pickup, where you've purchased the item online and you just walk into the brick and mortar store to pick it up.
And the product really did not even exist before, but using the
3D printing, that's the cool thing. Like, you could say, ooh, I want a new, okay, I really love phone cases. No, I really like 3D printing phone cases, but you could 3D print a new phone case and then walk over to a 3D printer and get it.
Yeah.
You have a 3D printer on hand, per se. Or you can send it to somewhere that does have a 3D printer on hand and just pick it up. Because that's a new trend, like a 3D printing shop where you just come in and print 3D and leave. That's all you can do there is print in 3D. There's Google, if you want to talk online or sell content online, downloading information, maybe you had to pay for it first. I could think of website themes and courses and webinars that you might pay for online, but you never get a physical product. It's simply a service or exchange of information. Google Helpouts are one of those new nice things where you now can pay somebody and have a live online broadcast for them to teach you something or help you out with something.
Yeah, so the Helpouts are sort of a spin-off of Hangouts, I suppose you could say.
Yes, it is. With a payment feature in it.
With a payment feature, yeah. So we're talking about physical products, and then the delivery of information, and the physical products can be delivered, by mail or whatever, or it can be actually created in a location near you with someone using a 3D printer, right?
Right.
The information type of product can be downloaded simply onto your device, whether it's a computer or a phone. But the internet has also enabled a whole category of service that a lot of it people describe in terms of the sharing economy, because we're talking about people being able to use something that they have and make it available to others. B&B, Airbnb has entered the lodging space with allowing individuals to rent out rooms in their house or to rent out their apartments for short terms. Uber and Lyft, who have come onto the scene in a very big way here in Pittsburgh this year, both revolve around the idea of an individual using his or her car as a way to provide a service for somebody, with the company behind that individual providing the support and the mechanism over the internet for conducting that service. So these are just different ways that not just hard goods, but the actual services can be delivered to people, facilitated by the internet. And they can spark ideas for your own type of business. And what do I have that I could offer to somebody? What do I have that I could share that offering or sharing could be facilitated by the internet?
And that's great, because Etsy has blown up too, where people who are crafty, they like to bedazzle stuff or remake stuff, or they're jewelry makers, has become so trendy for them to sell their products on, because they're not necessarily, they don't need a storefront.
Right.
They probably do a lot of vending at their local area, but Etsy now has provided them an online platform where they can sell their product all over the world. And Etsy is actually now, they have an Etsy Crafts entrepreneur program that is coming to certain cities just to focus on areas that have high and low income. And they want those people to lift themselves up through entrepreneurship and being able to sell their products or crafts through Etsy. I have put a link to that information in the chat too.
Okay, so Etsy is offering an entrepreneurial program focused on low-income communities.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And it's really, it's only started this year, so it's taking some time, but I think that at this point they're in about 6 different cities, which is really cool. So hopefully Pittsburgh will become one of those cities. We like to innovate around here.
Well, we'll have to see if we can help make that happen, huh? Let's see here. Is there anything else? We've started by talking about the marketing, and we've talked about the actual sales transaction, and we've talked about delivering the the actual product or the service. It looks like the only thing left for us to consider would be service after the sale, the customer support. So let's, how can we make use of, or how can we design our online presence to facilitate that aspect of business?
So depending on which platform you use, they may have already have a feedback system integrated. I know eBay is infamous for their feedback system. They actually will email you if you don't provide feedback in enough days to the person selling it. So there, you have to give feedback there. Your actual ratings as a user will go down if you're not giving feedback to sellers, because their whole system is based on the feedback. You know, certain sellers have higher ratings because they got better feedback. But if you don't have a system where you're not going to use something like eBay, a Google Doc, you know, Google has, if you have a Google Drive, or you Google account, you can open up your Google Drive and create a form to simply just ask those questions that you need answered. And they have drop-down boxes in there, multiple choice questions, rating scales, as well as space for people to give feedback. I prefer using the Google form because I can customize it. But there are other services that actually just offer form development. SurveyMonkey is another great form site. I like them too. MailChimp, you can always send a direct one-on-one contact. And some customers like that. It depends on what you're selling. Because if you sell something that's really customized, you probably want the one-on-one email MailChimp that's personalized to say, you know, how was your experience? How did you like it? Right. Exactly what you wanted. Versus if you're selling something in mass production, offering a standard form to click is okay because you really want the ratings from those people as well as some space for them to provide feedback. But having a feedback system is quintessential. And you kind of want to showcase that feedback too, which is why we talked about the testimonies and the marketing. So it comes full circle. If you're getting good feedback notes, you know, you can always post them on your website or whichever platform. If you're getting negative feedback, you can actually use that data to make some adjustments and changes to your organization. And if it's in something like a Google form, you can just download that information into a spreadsheet so you can actually manipulate and look at the information. Again, if you did proper marketing, you're probably on social media. People always provide feedback on social media. Either they liked your product, they didn't like your product, they can tag you in products. If you find that you are getting positive feedback on social media, share it, favorite it, like it. If you're getting negative feedback on social media, address it. Don't hide it, don't bury it, don't be emotional about it. Simply address it and move it to a more private manner. So if you're on Twitter, you know, if somebody tweets about your product that it was bad, respond to them and ask them, hey, would you like to direct message me so we can, you know, further resolve this or communicate about this issue? Same thing with Pinterest. Now it offers you a messaging system, but that's not something you want to play out on the public commenting section of any social media.
Right.
Address it and take it to a private forum.
And actually doing that, making use of the social media itself to interact with customers, to address a customer concern, that in itself can turn into really powerful marketing, because a customer who has a good experience with, well, I'll just point to myself as an example. I have Verizon Fios for my phone, internet, etc., and had an issue one day with the service. I don't know what was going on, but I mentioned on Twitter, you know, hey, Verizon got an issue here, and I got a response from a Verizon rep on Twitter who we went into a direct message conversation, and they were able to resolve the issue, right? Like pretty quickly, and I wound up telling the world on Twitter, hey, thanks Verizon for resolving my issue so quickly, right?
Correct. I've had that experience at a Staples. I had really great service one day, and I was like, I just wanted to thank the Staples staff because there was all types of commotion going on, but management just handled themselves so well. It was great. It was one of those moments where you're like, hey, I actually want to praise somebody for just doing a good job, just handling your business like you're supposed to. I've also used it to address issues that I just couldn't cut through the red tape or the telephone with. My sister lost her keys at the Console Energy Center, and we called for weeks, and they would just give us the runaround. You need to call security. You need to call here. And then one day I was just tired of hearing her complain, so I got on their Facebook page and was like, my sister lost her keys 2 weeks ago. Could you please call me within 15 minutes, somebody called me and told me, please come pick up her keys. They are sitting right here on our desk.
Okay.
It's very powerful. And I didn't try to be nasty. I will say that if you have a negative comment, you don't necessarily need to be nasty about it. Just explain. Somebody on the other end probably hears you and will address the issue if they are good business-minded people.
So for those of us who are viewing this, and for those of us putting this together, the challenge or the invitation is to be the good business-minded people who see the opportunity in problems, really, right? Because problems give you the opportunity to demonstrate how effective you are at solving problems. And when you demonstrate how effective you are at solving problems, you've got a customer for life.
You do. Because that's what every customer wants at the end of the day. They want the product or service that they were seeking in a professional and proper manner, and their problem solved, or whatever the issue was solved. I need a new pair of shoes. I got a new pair of shoes that fit. I need my internet access to work. I got my internet access to work. That's what we all want. When my clients call me, they don't really care about how my day was. They want to know, is their site up? Is their site working? That's what they want to know at the end of the day. What happened? How do I do this?
Right. So on that note, we are coming to the end of our time. We hope that you found this information helpful as we've walked through some of the considerations involved in setting up a site for e-commerce. I'm going to ask you to join us next week as we look at, where's my list?
A budget. It's a tech budget. I only know because I was a week ahead of time.
Yes, right. Putting together your budget for creating your presence online. So join us next week at 8 o'clock for our Tech Tuesday. Until then, take care, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.